All right, welcome back. I'm Dan Haggerty, and this is In Depth. This is a segment that is truly driven by you at home. So please email me at dan@WRAL.com. I read all of your emails, and then I go in depth on your questions, like this one from a viewer named John tonight. He said, Dan, I enjoy watching your segment and wondered if you would like to help 400 plus city employees, excuse me, who are being medically discriminated against. Now, John works for the City of Durham, which, according to its website, still penalizes employees who aren't vaccinated against COVID. John said the city currently implements a $70 penalty per month, and on July 1st, 2023, the penalty will go to $100 per month. Also, on the Durham website, it says that 85% of the employees there are vaccinated, so it seems the remaining 15% still pays up. But why exactly? Let's go in depth. Now, first, I should say I reached out to Durham with a long list of questions, and today they got back to me with some answers. They did tell me that this policy is not what they would call a vaccine mandate, which is a little confusing because they are literally mandating a fee for people who don't have the vaccine, but I'll play ball. So let's call it a policy, one that started taking shape in August of 2021 when the city offered all 2,600 employees a $250 bonus to get the shot. Then, by December, 4 months later, that financial incentive did a little flipperoo and turned into a penalty, saying if you're not vaccinated by the end of the year, then you're going to be hit with this $70 surcharge on your monthly insurance premiums for 2022. Now, keep in mind, the city is self-insured, so they set those premiums. This was a little controversial at the time, but you have to remember, policies and mandates like this surrounding the vaccine were quite common. I mean, the country was in pretty bad shape. And yes, there was some pushback, but the screams of government overreach kind of drowned out by the terrifying headlines that were reminding us all the time that hospitals had been filled up and mobile morgues were being parked outside and COVID victims were dying alone, spending their last few minutes saying goodbye on an iPad. So yeah, most people were team mandate, especially our top medical professionals.
Our emergency rooms were overflowing. We were running out of ventilators. Our ICU staff was on its last leg. I mean, we're in a very different situation here now.
Let's talk about the situation we're in now. What does it look like? This is a graph here, and it shows hospitalizations in North Carolina and how they have declined dramatically to where we are now. So if the plan was to stop the mayhem with these mandates so our hospitals and ICUs can get back on track, then you could say mission accomplished, which is why some cities are dropping their mandates now and restrictions and vaccine policies. Just last week, San Diego's city council voted unanimously to end its mandate, citing a drop in cases and hospitalizations. And it's not just cities. The Pentagon did the same, dropping vaccination mandates for troops. Last month, the University of Illinois ended its vaccine requirement for students and employees.
Right now, it's very hard. Everyone's different. Did I have Omicron? Did I get infected with Delta? Have I had 4 shots? Have I had 3 shots? It's so individual now. But overall, our communities, our population is much better protected. So I think we're in a different situation where it doesn't make as much sense to say to somebody, you must get like the bivalent vaccine.
Now, hold on. Let's just slow down for just a minute. I do want to make something very clear before someone with some QAnon screen name starts sending me clips from a podcast with vaccine conspiracies. We're not talking about the efficacy of the vaccine or big pharma or rare side effects or any of that stuff. The vaccine works. We know this. Countless studies and honestly some common sense have proved this over time. It's very good at keeping people out of the hospital. That said, so is being infected and recovering. That helps too. And the odds at this point that you don't have some form of protection from being vaccinated, infected, or both is getting lower by the day.
I wouldn't be surprised that we're going to get data that show that the majority of people in the United States have had encounters with COVID-19. It just makes sense.
So let's talk about what makes sense right now in a world where everyone's personal immunity varies when it comes to COVID and all the different variants. For people, for instance, still riding out that one dose of J&J from the onset way back in the day, to people who never got vaccinated but got sick and recovered, to people who have been vaccinated and still got sick, to people who have been vaccinated and boosted, or had multiple boosters, or got vaccinated, boosted, and still got sick, or so on and so forth. We all have a different, varying place in this whole puzzle. In a time where it appears COVID can't be vaccinated into oblivion either, where it will always be with us, according to the experts right now, with the FDA planning for annual shots at this point. Does it make sense to penalize people for deciding against that protection, whether you agree with that choice or not? John ended his email saying, the city cannot treat one group of individuals different than another. What do you think? Again, this isn't about the vaccine. Get vaccinated, get boosted, especially if you're over 65 or have other risk factors. Do it. But when it comes to mandates, what do you think at this point? Dan at WRAL.com. Give me your thoughts and we'll go in depth.